Hi, Joe.
Hello, David. How you doing tonight?
Great. You?
Oh, peachy keen. Oh my God, President Trump is calling my house right now.
Well, good. You.
You better get it, honey. It's President Trump calling. That's never happened before. Oh goodness. So you're gonna just have this set up and let it run?
Yeah, you may see my name, but I think last night when I did this with the planning board, once I stopped the video, I was off most of the screen. I don't know.
Yeah. Is there another meeting running simultaneously tonight? I forgot.
No, there.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. I ought to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't envy you, my friend. You've got too much to know about.
You do have an audience member as an attendee, but I don't know who it is. Bob, whoever that is. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Well, I thought I'd wait until you had at least another member up, and then I'd squirrel myself away to go do something else.
Oh yeah, do whatever's best. I think it will be good from here on. Hey, Mike, I didn't think you were actually going to make it tonight.
Well, I was out zooming elsewhere around. No, I'm here. How are we doing, Jordan?
I'm good. How are you? Congratulations, by the way. Have a good one, David. Thank you so much.
Oh, you out of here, David? Take care.
I'm actually just reading this the franchise agreement really quickly. Just skimming through it.
Oh, with Zoom, I've never seen that.
Oh, I've just got it up on a different like a window with the agenda and the survey, and then I don't know, like Josh, I'm not savvy with this yet. I don't know how to post documents and stuff like that for everybody to see. So
I don't either.
but tonight's going to be really succinct. I think there's not much to do, and
oh no, that's good. I'm looking forward to it. No, it'll be good getting back into it.
yeah.
This has seemed like just a doldrum of a month, you know. So
the last 4 months, I know they happened, but now that we're on the cusp of August, it's incredible. I mean, I know it's part of getting older, but the time has really gone by. It feels like instantaneously.
it has, yeah, it's flashed by, definitely. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I see.
I'm sorry. Hey, I wanted to ask you: are you with Marissa by any chance?
Yeah, Marissa's my wife. Yeah, you know her from Point Lookout. Yep.
Yeah, we work together at Point Lookout. Yeah. Is she still baking?
No, she's actually full time at the post office now.
Oh, awesome! That's great. Because I remember when she started that as a part-time kind of gig. Good.
Yeah, we actually met baking because my parents had a restaurant. I started working in the food industry at like 11 years old, and right before the wedding, I actually was up at Point Lookout right before everything kind of,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny. It was interesting up there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I wish a good journalist would do a comprehensive story on what actually happened and like the economic impact that had on the area and the state. Don't you? I mean, because that is like, I think it would be fascinating. I mean, and really sad, but.
Well, check out. I mean, it's funny to say that because yesterday's Linda Clancy came out with an article on Village Soup, and which starts that. It's not nearly as in depth, though. Linda Clancy could do a good in-depth story.
Because there's a lot there. There definitely
yeah.
is a lot.
Oh yeah, and it could be filled with many anecdotes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not going to get into it because I'm sure we're public, but you and I can have an interesting conversation, I'm sure, about the happenings, especially once Pyramid stopped running it as a management group and the new owners took over. It was like no holds barred. It was, and I've worked in a lot of restaurants in my life. It was like a zoo for a little while.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I left. Oh, I don't know, a year or so before it was finally sold to the new.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but here's a logistics question. Now that you're a selectman board member. Yeah. Do we have a quorum? What's the number of minimum people we need to run this group? Is it always 4?
I don't know.
I'm just surprised. Usually we have more people, and we're kind of at the witching hour right now. So it's hard. Let's wait a couple more minutes, and then we
should, because I couldn't say that we had a quorum right now, but typically it's 3 people. But I don't have our rules. And I don't know what it'd be. I mean, this guy right here, David, keeps bouncing around. Up there's George. Hey, George. Might know that. I don't know.
How you doing, George? I know I initially thought that the meeting was at 6:00 for some reason.
Well, it's just a continuation of, it's kind of like I don't know if you're a Kurt Vonnegut reader or not, but we're kind of in a Kurt Vonnegut sense of time here. It's just kind of flowing in this odd way. Yeah.
Hey, George.
Hi, George.
It's good to see you.
How you doing?
We were just having the quorum discussion. Do we need 3 or 4 members? Is it 4 members to start a meeting?
I must admit that I don't know that, although it does seem to me that if we have 8 members,
I'm really surprised. Usually we'll give it another minute or so here.
Yeah, well, David will know. Is he listening?
I believe he's gone off to greener pastures right now.
Okay.
To have a life, yeah.
Yeah. How dare you?
Well, we could, maybe the 3 of us could just chat briefly, even if we don't have a full-blown meeting.
Sorry. Well, we can chat in between. I'll wait till 7:05 before we talk about agenda, but you can feel free to talk. I know, if you had anything to say. I know there's some interesting stuff that's going on in the background too.
Well, I just wanted to, note, I did take a look at the existing, franchise agreement. I don't know if you had a chance to read through that.
I just was very quickly browsing through it. And is that date accurate? Is it from 2009? Because it's a 10-year agreement. So that was my first question about it. So
I think by its, unless there is a subsequent amendment to it, it has expired by its operation. It was a 10-year term. It provided a specific date, which I think actually was November 15th, 2008 was the effective date. So this thing expired by its own operation on November 15th of 2018. So it's like, it's almost.
That's funny. I'm looking at one that says the 14th day of September 2009.
Well, if you take a look at the end of it, it actually provides, it's 10 years from the effective date, and the effective date is actually defined as November 15th. So they actually,
Is there any part about ownership or exclusivity? I mean, I will read through this all myself, but I just was curious.
Yeah.
Are
Are we echoing? I'm just trying to. There are a number of things in it that make it clear that it's actually it's the reiteration of an older agreement that is technologically long superseded. Right? That is technically long superseded.
Yeah, the audio is giving us problems
Oh,
tonight.
so Bob is okay. That's a franchise agreement. Now I wonder if that's mine. I've got a terrible connection, hence why I'm on the broadband committee.
Well, this may answer our question about whether we want to continue with the meeting.
Well, I hear you guys just fine. Are you getting a lot of echo?
It's okay now, if you're hearing me.
Yeah, I hear you guys perfect. So Bob wanted to know what franchise agreement. We're talking about a franchise agreement with LCI to provide cable, television, and internet service to the town. And that document I've got to apologize because this is my first time running a Zoom meeting. I do not know how to post that. It's a 14-page long document, but maybe, I don't know if you have access to.
I wish I was clever enough to do it as well.
Well, do you see the chat? Because there's real-time things coming up. Well, our franchise agreement, it looks like it just ran out, but there is definitely a written franchise agreement with LCI because we've all looked at it and passed it around.
Okay, because the one I think
Sorry.
the one sent to us by David was the one I looked at, and unless there are amendments to it, it's no longer effective, and it has a number of provisions that are troublesome, obviously, including a $300,000 cap on the amount of insurance they have to carry, which is ridiculous in this day and age. A $300,000 minimum capitalization for the franchised entity, which is also ridiculous these days. It has a requirement that every 3 years they have to conduct a survey of all the Lincolnville residents as to whether they want to have, on their opinions on service. Have you ever seen one?
Wait, so George, hold on a second. I don't mean to be rude, but let's just, we've waited time now, and since what we're talking about now is actually on our agenda list today.
Fine.
I'm not meaning to put the kibosh on you, but let's just start the meeting, go through the order, and then we can get very quickly to discussing the franchise agreement, because I'm really surprised. We usually have a full house, but we're going to start the meeting. I'm going to call it to order for Lincolnville Broadband Committee. And so the first little slot is the public comment. And Bob, you or anyone else who would like to make a comment, please feel free to write something. And I'll just let you know that there is a Facebook page called Lincolnville Citizens for Fiber Optic. I do run that page, and what I'll do is that I will upload this document and make it available to anyone who wishes to see it on that page. So Bob, if that's a way that you can get it, I'll make sure to do that tomorrow evening at the latest. All right, so if there isn't a comment, would somebody like to make a movement to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, second. Yeah.
All right, second that's passed. Minutes are approved. And so the next thing on the agenda is to discuss the survey that we've put together. The selectmen, I don't know, George, if you were watching, Mike, you were there. I thought the response was great. It seemed like all of the changes we made were really amenable to the board, and they were on board with it. The only thing that we did make a change to was because of the postal delivery options we have with the every door delivery. We share that zip code, and forgive me for repeating, but so that you have to mail them to every address on the route. And since Northport's included in that, under the residence question, we wrote, if you're not a resident, please disregard the survey. So that it's just a very simple alteration, and that way we'll know. And there was one concern brought up about, not really fraud, but about people filling out multiple surveys. And we addressed, that was addressed also with the address question, where we would see multiples popping up. Plus, it's just a basic opinion survey, so I'm not really too worried about there being any kind of conspiracy as far as that's involved. I don't know if anybody had anything to discuss about the survey or wanted to put anything in there.
No, not at all. Those two additions, and I remember them, seem to pretty much satisfy everybody on the board. Yeah. Well, they did.
Yeah.
All right, so now we can move on to discussion of the LCI franchise agreement. And George, if you want to pick up where you left off, forgive me for cutting you off, but I definitely, I'd love to hear about some of the highlights.
Sure, no problem at all. Again, looking at the document in and of itself, without any existing amendments, I'm not sure if there are amendments or not, but it does provide for a 10-year term, which has expired. It sets out a number of provisions which I think by any reasonable analysis are outdated in terms of the minimum commitment of bandwidth, which was 44 megahertz, and we're now talking about gigs. It's clearly designed for another technological era, and really does, I think, just the outdated nature of the technological provisions argue very strongly for a complete renegotiation of the document. There is a proviso that the incumbent has a first negotiation right, but it's not a first negotiation last refusal. So we have an obligation to speak with them, but we have no obligation to conclude an extension of the agreement. There seem to be a number of elements of the document which, to my knowledge, haven't been complied with, including a requirement that every 3 years during the term, the cable company has to conduct a survey of all the residents of Lincolnville as to satisfaction of service. I'm a newcomer here, but I've certainly lived here for, we've had a place here for almost 5 years. I've never seen one of those from them. I'm just wondering if they've complied with it. I also thought that the basic fee structure, what they're paying the town for the franchise, is completely disconnected from what we're looking for in terms of service. It's 2% of basic cable revenues, right?
So George, I was wondering, because I've been looking through, and I mean, this is maybe my ignorance, but I'm trying to find, there's a lot of language about construction and maintenance, but I'm pressed to find anything that says anything about actual ownership of the poles and infrastructure. Because where it is on town property, you know what I mean? So that's something that I'd really would be very interested to know in what the relationship of that is. Because it seems like it's a quasi lease in a way. And I probably shouldn't go into this too much because I don't know about it, but that's what I couldn't find any specific language about. But I'd be very, very interested to know if they own that outright or if there's some kind, you know what I mean? Because that would be an important thing for us to know.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, but I wasn't looking for it. So it's not that, I used to negotiate these things, and it's a 12 or 14 page document. The typical franchise agreement these days runs over 100 pages. So this thing is like, something from the prehistoric era. I can very clearly, very quickly take a look at that, Jordan, and either at the next meeting or I can just shoot you something on the side to answer that question. But
Yeah, that would be
I didn't see a provision that it specifically addressed ownership. I can certainly run that one down.
Well, and I did see too, there was a lot of ways that we could opt out of it. And again, this goes to my ignorance and I should read it better, but I don't really understand what the purpose of this franchise agreement is unless it is to just allow them to build infrastructure on town-owned property.
Well, I think that it does tie into the state regulatory system, right? And I think that there probably are a set, or at least there were in 2008 when this all began. There are a set of minimum requirements for franchise agreements, which I think are laid out in the state statute, which sort of, which I think this thing touches on. But in terms of the actual services to be provided, my sense is that there's a very reasonable argument that we should be able to negotiate this thing all over again, if indeed we go down the road in that direction. In other words, if we decide that, after the survey and we go through the process of looking at the various options, it does seem to me that an extensive renegotiation of this document, probably utilizing a consultant, if not the one we spoke with at our last meeting, to sit down and do this, because it's just it's an inadequate document on its face, and I think it's not in the best interest of the town to keep it in place. So I think that that was sort of my take from it.
Wait, hold on just a second. Mike, did you have something to say?
Yeah, no, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, and I don't want to cut off discussion or speculation about that, but some of us need to find out if there are any amendments, if there is an existing franchise agreement with the town of Lincolnville before we go off too far into what this one might
Oh, absolutely.
entail for us, right? And so anyway, so of us three, who would like to do that? I mean, I'm happy to call David and pursue it. George, you're kind of in a better position in the sense that
Mike,
you know more about it. I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, Mike,
you might know what questions to ask.
Yeah, if you could call David and ask him just to, A, if there are amendments, and B, just to send them to the committee.
I will do that, yeah.
As soon as they're sent, I will review them and the entire document as a whole. And I'll try to specifically answer Jordan's question about, ownership of either the poles or the wiring system or whatever.
Okay.
Because I think that's certainly a central issue in terms of where we go if we're not going to continue with them. But I do think that, at least based on first view, that it's a very odd situation we find ourselves in. Now, you often have situations in which franchise agreements kind of roll over because people are in the process of renegotiating them. I'm not aware. I think that would have been something brought to our attention on the committee if that was the case, if there was a present renegotiation going on. But at the very least, based upon what we've received, it's superseded. It's based upon 20-year-old technology.
Sure.
The economics of it aren't in the interests of the town, and it does seem to me that were we not to go down the road, the road of a municipal system, that this is screaming for a renegotiation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With someone who's done one of them recently, which ties into the earlier conversations we had, with a consultant. I mean,
Right.
Again, I'm familiar with these things. I don't want to present myself as the person to do that negotiation. And certainly someone who's negotiated somewhat recently with these guys for another municipality would be able, I think, to give us a much more fully serviceable document than we have right now.
Well, yeah, it sounds as if this is one more reason why consultant sounds more and more fitting for better and better for us,
Yeah.
And which kind of then gets back to the seed money necessary to get him or her. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So is there any more discussion that we'd like to have about the franchise agreement?
No, but just to reiterate, I'll contact David tonight or tomorrow morning.
So that's on an action item. We're up to action items now. So I would say, Mike, that's a perfect thing for you right now. Again, sorry to cut you off.
That's what I'll do. We'll put the
Volunteer for
MR.
that, yeah.
Gets to do that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
And I guess
so
the
yeah, I'll
other
contact him. We'll find out.
The other action item would be that upon receiving any further, documentation or updated documentation, I'd step forward to an action item of reviewing the additional materials so that at our next meeting, I could report back to see if there's something other than what I saw, based upon what we received
Yeah.
already.
And I would suggest that for everyone and for the fellow board members who, the committee members who are not present, but hopefully will be watching this at a later date, just definitely try and review all the documents. As far as the next meeting date, I think I'm going to hold off on making even a tentative date because I know that there may be a little bit of restructuring in the committee itself. I'm not sure who has decided to re-up. I know that there were a couple of people who were very, very interested in joining the committee, so there may be a little bit of a change or addition coming up, and I'll talk with Josh, and I'm sure that we'll all be in touch with everyone about scheduling that next meeting. So I just hesitate to even put that out. I'm sure, it'll be around 2 to 3 weeks from now, but
Okay.
that'll be emailed. So are there any non-agenda items that anyone would like to bring up?
I actually do have one, yes. And
Mike.
Yeah. This is to you guys and to anybody that you know. If anybody is interested, if either of you are interested in donating even more volunteer time to the town of Lincolnville, our planning board is right on the edge of not having enough people.
Now, can you explain just briefly what it is that the planning board does?
Yeah, they review applications, whether they're residential or commercial site plan, small or large, within that are presented that are taking place in Lincolnville. The applications then go to the planning board. The planning board is a quasi judicial branch, which has a board of appeals over it, and then courts, of course. But anyway, it can see to what extent, if the application conforms to ordinances that we have in town, and that's what, then it can issue a permit, usually to start building to get it to a certain level to code.
So is that a recommendation? Oop, I hope that was that me. Is that a recommendation that they give, like the budget committee where we review things and give a recommendation?
No, because they're quasi judicial, means they are actually judging that a permit is warranted. So they issue permits.
And you guys, how many members do you need, or how many?
Well, I'm not on the board.
Oh, you're not on it.
No. Used to be years ago, but well, we're down to 3 people, and which is a quorum, basically. Yeah. And so it's just a car accident. We're a car accident away from not getting a quorum. This type of thing. So anyway, it's a relatively easy lift, in my opinion, because it's just you meet twice a month. You get it. You have a packet of pending applications and or agenda items where things are in the cycle or the process of where the application is in the review. And you're always working with Frank Tyria, the code enforcement officer, and sometimes the town attorney. And so there's usually a few hours of preparation for each meeting. And you have a packet at least a few days ahead of time in order to do that. So anyway, it's something to consider if either of you are interested or know somebody.
Or anyone out there, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Anything else?
Can't think of anything.
All right. Well, would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Well, let's see who made. I'll make the motion to adjourn. Yeah.
I'd be happy to second it with thanks to our chairman pro tem here.
Yeah.
All right, I would do a roll call vote, yes, to confirm, but I think that it's pretty self-evident. Okay. So
I think so.
Thank you so much, guys, and we'll be in touch. Okay. And I think we're moving forward in a pretty good direction.
I'll let you know what David says. I'll send that out.
Much.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Take care.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
We're going to leave.
Yep.
I'm trying to leave.